I guess the big thing that I think a lot of people want you to weigh in on is McAfee signed a monster deal with FanDuel,
huge.
4 years.
Yep, huge deal. Those numbers did surprise me in a sense because it's so big. And I tweeted out, and a lot of people thought it was like negative McAfee. It wasn't really negative McAfee. FanDuel, we spoke with them when McAfee was still employed here, I believe. And it was like they didn't make they didn't even offer the offer on the table was like $100 million, like cash or something like that. They didn't even make that offer. Like, no, too expensive. It just shows you how the market has changed, because they could have like all of Barstool, including McAfee at the time, for $100 million. Now they're paying that much for one guy. It's crazy.
Did you talk to Pat at all?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I think, I mean, I guess I could see how people were turned off by your tweet, right?
How? They misunderstood it if they were.
Well, I think you were more so responding to the part of my take portion of the tweet. I understood that, but
well, it was like how much
PS.
would they? Yeah, and it's like, well, they could have had it all. It was the part in my take, right? They're like, how much would they be in the open market?
Yes, and you said this deal is specifically because of us. FanDuel declined to make an offer on Barstool, and they could have had myself, PMT, McAfee, and everybody else, and they balked at $100 million. Barstool's redefined everybody's worth by our success. P.S. I taught McAfee how to bet.
All facts.
Yeah, but I think it could.
Those are 100% facts. The first, Pat McAfee had never placed a bet in his life, and not only that, had no idea how to bet. Like, that's a fact. I think we were in Iowa, and I was betting the board, and he's like, just double everything you have. And I was like, all right. I actually called up. I had to increase my fucking limit. I had to increase my limits because I always bet to max my limit. And then I increased it, and the McAfee's like, wait a minute, you bet that much? I was like, yeah. He's like, oh, I don't want that. And I was stuck with all these bigger limits, and I got whacked because of him. He owes me like probably 7 figures because he increased my limits when I didn't want to. That's a true story. But he never – so what are people mad about? That's the true story.
Yeah, their story, but I think people are like, oh, it was his moment. He could have just said congratulations instead of just saying how this deal only happened because of our story.
But I was responding to somebody that brought us into it. They're like the part of my take. Like I didn't. And I was responding to a tweet that's like, how much is part of my take on the open market? That's what I was responding to. Mm-hmm. Like I have private things with Pat, which is like, hey, congrats. He's like, thank you. I learned it all from you. He did learn it. Oh, you know what I learned from? And again, Pat is wildly, wildly talented, and he's always destined to do his kind of own thing. The only thing I screwed up, and it wasn't animosity. He made all this money. Listen, before Pat went to FanDuel, we were talking about trying to get him back here. Pat wanted to come, and we just wanted to do like a gambling deal with him, and FanDuel offered him more than we were willing to offer, the Penn guys. Pat wanted to come back full-time and do like a radio show with me. Like that was his idea. So there's no animosity. But
when was this?
Before he did the FanDuel deal. He's like, FanDuel offered me a stupid amount of money. So he's like, I gotta go. This
deal or his previous deal with FanDuel?
What?
Like this deal he just signed last week?
No, the one before that.
Oh, the one before that. Okay.
Yeah. So, like, when we did the Penn deal, when we did Penn, I reached out. I'm like, hey, we just did this deal. We got more money. Come back. He was into it. He's like, yes. Like, let's try to figure it out. And he wanted to do literally his day. He's like, me and you do our own show together. It'll be the biggest show there is. So there's no animosity there. So the people who jump on the things don't make anything. I was making a business point on that tweet. Like, yes, the market has changed. We were the first quarterback to sign. We did $450 million, and it made it look cheap instantly by our success. That was the point. It's like, if Pat's by alone worth that, how much are we worth? That was the point of that. Now, my lesson, if you want to, my lesson, McAfee, overall from a business side, is non-solicitation. That's what we learned, and you learn everything that way. Like, without Bubbly Gang and all the people who work for us going to him, it would have been a lot harder. And this isn't a McAfee, it's anything. It's building a competitor, basically. Like, we won't let people just take our employees with them anymore. learned that lesson.
Because you kind of let him like choose and who could come here, who could come there.
Yeah, he had his own business ready to go. Like, I mean, he had a sales guy. He had everything. He had the infrastructure, which was our employees, but we didn't prevent that.
How do you really stop that though? If people just leave and jump ship.
Non-solicitation. Like, if you leave, you can't, like, and we didn't have our contracts right.
Like a non-compete, you mean?
Yeah, we just didn't. I don't even at that time know that we had like contracts correct. Like Lewis, although he like, I don't think that enterprise works without him.
Because he was around for so long and
he knew everything about us. He knew our infrastructure. He knew everything. He had the sales content. He had everything.
And he's out there, right? So he didn't even get a piece of that, right?
I have no idea. I don't think he is there, but I have no idea. I mean, again, Pat strikes me as a guy who doesn't leave people. I don't know. I have no idea the relationship. Like Pat's not. It's crazy because Pat, in my mind, he's not money driven. He's just like success, like respect driven.
Yeah, I mean, he said that. That was.
Yeah, he wouldn't have left the NFL if he was like money driven, and I don't think he left here because of money. He left like he just thought he wasn't getting like the respect like he deserved here, or he could do it on his own.
Do you think the deal was too high?
The market is, there's very few Pat McAfee's. The market is what the market is. They've already know what he does, so no. I don't think it's too high.
I agree. I mean, it's a shit ton, but like comparatively to like the other ones we've seen happen, this one's like, all right, that makes sense. Like they're monster on YouTube. They do a good show. Like,
yep. I mean, it's not too far off from the guy from Miami, right? He was like 25 a year, Le Batard?
I think he got. I want to say he got a lot less. Can you look that up, Kareem?
No, it was 40. It was something big.
Was it?
Yeah.
50 mil over 3 years.
50 over 3.
And
so it's all relative.
But they own him, though, right? I think that's the key factor here.
No, they don't own Le Batard.
So it's just an ad deal.
50 over 3, yeah.
Wow.
Again, that was my business point. It's speaking to the advantage that Penn has. I'm going to have to call timeout and get a tissue, and we'll continue after.
Time in?
Time in.
All right, time in. And then I guess really, does this kind of change your feelings knowing that, I mean, he got that for just an ad deal. Like,
right.
Is that...
Well, again, it's the same thing as, like, the pros. The guys who sign first, like Brady, doesn't make the most, or guys who set the market, yeah, their contract becomes outdated. That's I wish we got it more. This happened I think people will be surprised, like with the churning guys, like I was vastly underpaid. Now, if you look at my contract, you would say Dave's vastly underpaid. You would. I can do whatever I want with that. Like, I could do it at churning. I could do it here. I don't know. Like, I'm generally like an honor the contract guy. You have a contract, you sign it, you honor it. That's how I've said things about like Call Her Daddy or other things. It's like, all right, you did the deal. It worked when you signed the deal. You honor it. We at Barstool do rip up contracts and increase them as people have success. And it sometimes puts me in a kind of a weird spot to a degree because I see other people getting better deals than like what I got. And I negotiate those, and then I have my own. And the churn guys never stepped up and like, you're wildly underpaid. Kern's at the end of our contract is like, I wish I was your agent. Like, he said that to me. That's essentially like we took you for a ride a little bit. I don't know. It's an interesting spot to be in.
Yeah, but you probably rationalize that with knowing that you're going to get taken care of on the back end. Right?
No, who says I'm going to get taken care of in the back end?
I mean, it's just a fact. You have the most stock.
You mean stock? Yeah, but that...
Yeah.
There's an element, to be honest, like the stock that I got is for what Barstool was worth. They underpaid for what, and they made a great deal, but it's worth more now, and the stock is what the stock is. But that shouldn't change they're two different things. That's Barstool. You bought Barstool, not just me. You bought Barstool, and then you have a salary. If you look at my salary, which I'm not going to say what it is, in light of the deals going around, I'm probably one of the most underpaid humans in the world. I still make a lot of money, but it's just in relative of what everybody else makes.
North of 7 figures?
Oh, I'm not giving any answers. We'll just say I'm wildly underpaid. And I'm not the only one.
I mean, who do you talk to Penn? Who do you negotiate with if you want to change that?
Penn. I guess it would be Penn.
And you just don't want to do it because you want to honor it? I don't understand. You're fair with other people. If people come to you and be like, hey, I think I outperform my contract, why don't you do that same thing?
I just don't. I mean, it's a interesting dilemma. I like I said, there's part of me that feels like you signed this contract, you agreed to it, it was good then. There's no guarantees everything would have worked. So it's the both sides. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not saying I won't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I know Penn is aware of that contract and other contracts, so we'll see.
I think it was after, 19?
I'm also not overly greedy. Granted, I have no money because I'm getting smushed in gambling and all. I mean, I have money, but it's all in my houses.
And I think you said after 19, right? You really thought about not re-signing and doing your own thing, Boston, like
correct.
Making pizza thing,
yes.
Whatever. Now, when you see a deal like that, does that, like, be honest, was there any percent of you, like, that had that in your head?
No, because we set the market. That's my point. If we didn't make that deal, Pat doesn't get that deal.
Yeah, but I get your point. But if we didn't set it and then you did your own thing, Pizza Boy Inc., and you went to whatever, and then you get that deal at the end of 2020.
Yeah, but
if someone else
we had to make this deal with the gambling company. Like that,
but you don't.
Without Barstool's deal with Penn, the Levitar deal doesn't happen. The McAfee deal does not happen. It does not happen.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is you don't think someone else would have set the market then? Like maybe Cowherd gets that first deal.
No.
And then it's
no.
And then all
because
the
I love
dominoes
Pat
fall.
and I love Levitar. They're singles. And I don't mean like basic. They're single entities. We are totally different. There is no media company like us who could have had an impact like us.
Really, though? You don't think there's market sets if it's not, like, at all?
Nope.
That's I think that's a little crazy. I think it would have happened
By
at
who?
some point. I don't know. They would have surely made a deal with someone.
It wouldn't have. It's everything. It's the deal we did. It's the way the stock performed, even though it's crashed back down. Everything. Nope. I don't believe it. I don't think there's anyone else who could set the market like what we did. It was so public, so everything.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. That there was a lot of
who are they going to negotiate with? We changed the way things were perceived with acquiring them. It set off like the gold rush with media. We were the first. Like the Clay Travis deal doesn't happen. We set the market. There's nobody who can tell me otherwise. And I think we were the only ones who can set it at that point.
We certainly did, maybe at that point, but I just think it would have happened at some point. That's all I'm saying.
I don't know.
I mean, what do you think about it all being ad? Does that kind of make you think?
What?
What do you think about it all being ad-based? I mean, if we did that, then you wouldn't have seen it then, right? It would have been a different story. And then they wouldn't have the infrastructure. Probably would have been Barstool Sportsbook. Like, do you know what I mean? Instead of giving up the equity, if we just did a straight up ad deal for $100 million instead of the $450.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, obviously, from the Barstool side of it, you would like to have reversed it. You'd like all these deals to have happened and us to still be a free agent. Is that what you're asking? Yes.
No. Instead of the equity thing, instead of Penn actually buying us, because McAfee's still going to get shit from other places because they're just an ad,
right? Yeah,
they're not. They don't control. That
to me is the same answer.
Do you When does Penn buy the other percent of Barstool?
I think they have the
up?
option at the end of 3 years, so we're at the end of 2.
Okay, so they got one more year?
Yep.
And that still looks like a foregone conclusion, right?
I would assume so.
Yeah. Is everything, I mean, it's the end of the year now. Is everything, how is year 2? Is everything kind of happy? Did you have like the end of the year meeting?
No, I think, it's same. I think it's nothing that I've said over and over and over on this side. We don't spend that much on advertising related to the others. Like as you're talking about it on one side, right? From the what would Dave rather he do or Barstool rather? Pat made all this money. You look at FanDuel, they only bought what, Pat, for 3 years?
3 with a 4-year option.
Yeah, so they're going to have to this gambling war is probably not going to be over in 3 years. They're just going to have to keep ponying up. It's a huge advantage for Penn. That's my point with why I did it in the stock. It is a gigantic advantage for Penn.
Because they're going to have to keep going and pay.
The other guys
keep
is what I used to do versus them in the fantasy days. Like Pat, I can't speak for him. I don't think he has any grand allegiance to FanDuel. If DraftKings comes in or Penn came in at the end of 3 or 4 years and says we'll double that, he'd jump. And everyone who likes him will jump with him.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I completely get your point about it being good for Penn. They got the cheaper deal, and we're not going nowhere with buying the equity. So, all right. I mean, it's –
but
crazy,
the people who's like, it's good. I think that deal is. People are like Dave has in Mussy. I don't like. I think it's good for Pat. I think it's good for me personally. I think it's good for Penn. I think that deal is good.